What does the chairman of the El Paso Republican Party, Adolpho Telles, think? Sir, good to have you with us tonight. Can you tell us a little bit about how your community is doing this evening?
Thank you, Shannon. Nice being with you also. The community still has a lot of healing to do. It's not just the individuals that are remaining with us that are hurt. It's the families that are involved, and it's law enforcement. Law enforcement, they saw some tragedy, they saw some carnage that nobody should have to see. And then the community as a whole clearly reacted, because that's not something we expected in El Paso. El Paso is 80% Hispanic. We get along. We work together, and it was evident when they said they need water, they got more than they needed. When they said they needed blood, the line was, they had to send people away because they couldn't handle the volume that came in. And that's a typical El Paso reaction to issues. So, we still have a lot of healing to do, and we're working on that.
Yeah, and this person was an outsider. He was not a part of the El Paso community. He came from hours and hours away, specifically targeting this community. But now as we look ahead to the president coming tomorrow, I want to read something from your counterpart who leads the Democratic Party there, the chair. She said, well, I'll play it. Here's what she said.
He doesn't care about communities like ours. El Paso has been ground zero for all of the cruel, inhumane immigration policies that he has sought to enact during his administration. So El Paso, more than anywhere else, has seen that cruelty.
So the president and first lady were told it's going to be all about the first responders and the victims tomorrow. But if the president does have an opportunity to speak, what message, in the light of that criticism, do you hope to hear from him tomorrow that would be helpful?
One of the things that we've been talking about here at the local party, and we hope it carries over because we've tried to pass it on, is when this first occurred on Saturday, we talked about we do not want this to be a political issue. It's a tragedy. We need to deal with it. And we have tried to pass that on to the president. And we think he'll respond. I think he understands there's a lot of hurt. I think he understands there's a lot of healing that needs to occur among a wide range, as I mentioned a while ago, of individuals. When I first heard about this, I was driving back into El Paso. I was talking to my wife, and she asked me, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I said, "Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I need to get myself here pulled together." But it's an issue that we're dealing with, and I think he is compassionate and understanding enough to talk to the people and give them hope. And I think that's what we need, and I'm very confident that he'll come in and visit with those people and leave a good image.
I mean, it's absolutely devastating. And to those of us who are on the outside looking in, I mean, we have our reporter Garrett Tenney there. He shared so many stories of people who were there that day, some people who made it, some who didn't. I mean, it's still very raw there. So in light of that, things that are happening tonight, like Congressman Castro, who is putting out information about donors to President Trump down there, saying that they're in part responsible for these things that are happening, the climate that's been created. What do you make of that?
I just made a comment about we made a decision not to turn this into politics. And that's exactly what is occurring, and it's frustrating to us because we need time. And we were talking about at least a couple of weeks till the funerals are over. But, you look at what O'Rourke's doing, you look at what Escobar's doing. They're making this a political issue, and they're trying to enhance their opportunities by making it a political issue. That is absolutely wrong, and it's very disappointing. And we've talked about that again with the local party. And again, we're still backing off. We're still trying to talk about healing, praying, and helping the people that need help. And the other people that are out of the city, they're just trying to play the people's feelings instead of doing what's right for our city and for our state and our country.
Yeah, you've talked about how the folks there have turned out in an overwhelming way when needs were made public. I saw the lines of people standing in line to give blood and so many of the other things you referred to there. Is there a sense of community there, people there on the ground? I mean, this is their home. This is their community. How are they holding up? How are you holding up as you try to unify there?
One of the things I mentioned about our community is that this is a 80+% Hispanic community. I'm Hispanic, okay? I speak Spanish, I know the people. I chose to come live in El Paso after I was transferred here. And Hispanic people have some very good values, and this community has good values. God's important, family's important, and there's a strong work ethic. And I think that's why, yeah, there's differences of opinion, but generally, there's always exceptions, but generally we work together, we talk. I respect other people's opinions. I'm a minority because this is a Democratic county and a Republican state, but we work together. So again, I think that's going to continue. I think we'll continue to work together and focus on what we need to do as a community, because this was an unfortunate event, but I was glad it wasn't an El Pasoan that did it. I was disappointed that anybody did it, but I would have really been shocked, because I cannot see an El Paso doing something like what occurred here, because that really hurts our community, and we need time. We need time.
Well, we've heard so much about how your community does work together across party lines and ideological lines all the time, and we're seeing that in this aftermath as well. Adolpho Telles, thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.